You've been lied to your entire life. They taught you that reality is solid, structured, built on facts, that you can measure things, prove them, trust them. But what if I told you that's the biggest trick ever played on you? Because reality isn't built on what's there, it's built on what's missing. And once you understand that, everything you believe collapses. Let me show you. A blank page is empty until you start drawing. At first, every stroke adds meaning, but push too far, and suddenly it's all noise. The image disappears. Now ask yourself, what if your perception of reality works the same way? You think you see life clearly. Success, failure, meaning. But what if none of it exists the way you think it does? The truth is, nothing and everything aren't opposites. They are the same. And that's why they never wanted you to figure this out. Stay with me, because once you see this, there's no going back. They've trained you to think reality is made of things, objects, facts, truth. But here's what they never told you: everything only exists because of what isn't there. A word only means something because of what it excludes. A pattern only exists when something is missing. So what happens when you remove every contrast, every separation? Does reality still exist, or does it disappear? Here, the uncomfortable truth, the difference between nothing and everything, is an illusion. The second you grasp that, everything starts to fall apart. Take a blank page, pure emptiness. No lines, no marks, just open space. Now draw a single line. Suddenly, it's no longer nothing. That one stroke defines the page, carves meaning out of the void. Keep adding more shapes, patterns, details, and it begins to take form. But push too far, and the image disappears. Overload the page with too much detail, and it turns into chaos. Nothing has turned into everything, and everything has collapsed back into nothing. Now, here's where it breaks your reality. This isn't just about a page. This is how reality works. The more you add, thoughts, distractions, beliefs, the more you lose clarity. The world bombards you with noise to keep you from realizing a truth that would change everything. Real power comes from what you remove, not what you add. Some of the greatest in history, like Tesla, Einstein, and Da Vinci, knew the truth. They didn't just seek knowledge, they mastered the art of empty space, because clarity doesn't come from knowing more. It comes from removing distractions. Want proof? Think about your own life. When was the last time you sat in total silence? No phone, no notifications, no mental clutter. Here's an exercise called the 3-minute void practice. Close your eyes. Imagine erasing everything: your thoughts, your identity, even your sense of self. Just exist in nothingness for 3 minutes. That's where everything begins. That's the space where real breakthroughs happen. You've been trained to fear stillness. Silence makes you uncomfortable. Being alone with your thoughts feels unnatural. Ever wonder why? Because if you ever truly embraced nothing, you'd discover the one truth that would make the entire system collapse. Nothing is the most powerful state you can be in. Look at nature. Where does a tree grow? In empty space. Where do ideas form? In silence. Even in quantum physics, what we once thought was empty space is actually filled with limitless energy. Everything comes from nothing. This is why monks meditate for hours, why geniuses spend time in deep thought, why your most powerful ideas don't come when you're trying, but when you let go. Exercise the void manifestation technique. Find a quiet space with no distractions. Close your eyes and visualize absolute nothingness, a black void. No thoughts, no identity, just stillness. Hold that state for 2 to 3 minutes. Now, introduce a single desire and watch it emerge effortlessly from the void. Try this for 7 days and see what happens. But here's the hard truth: your brain is under constant attack. Every second, you're bombarded with social media, news, ads, endless noise. You're drowning in information but starving for wisdom. And that's not an accident. Society keeps you distracted because a mind that never experiences stillness never realizes its true power. Look at the elite: Steve Jobs, Einstein, top CEOs. They all wore the same outfit every day. Why? Because removing unnecessary choices frees the mind for what really matters. Challenge for the next 24 hours: eliminate one major source of mental clutter. No social media, no news, no random YouTube scrolling. Just silence. Observe what happens. What you'll notice is that your intuition sharpens, your creativity explodes, and you start seeing what was always hidden in plain sight. Everything you want, money, purpose, clarity, success, is already there. It's just buried under too much noise. Want real power? Stop adding, start removing. The more you add, the less clarity you have. Power comes from stillness. Nothing isn't emptiness, it's infinite potential. Everything is born from the void. Your brain is overloaded on purpose. The system keeps you distracted, so you never see your true power. The hidden code of reality: you've been playing a rigged game. Reality isn't what you think it is. From the moment you were born, you were trained to see the world in a specific way. A way that was designed for you, not by you. The way you define truth, success, and identity isn't reality itself. It's a mental framework that was installed in your mind. And here's the part no one tells you: what if the world you experience isn't just perceived, but constructed? Patterns don't exist on their own, they are imposed. You aren't just receiving reality, you're creating it. This is why two people can witness the same event and walk away with completely different versions of the truth. Your mind doesn't perceive what's real, it perceives what it expects to be real. Now, here's where it gets powerful. If you could break that expectation, you wouldn't just change how you see reality, you could bend reality itself. How? The dots control your perception. Imagine staring at an infinite field of dots. If the dots are spread out, your brain connects them. You see patterns, shapes, meaning. But if those same dots are crammed together too tightly, everything collapses into chaos. Now, think about your life. When you focus on a few details, you create a clear story. When you're overloaded with too much information, everything turns to noise. This is why people who binge news, opinions, and social media feel more confused, anxious, and powerless than ever. Their mental framework is breaking down, but they haven't learned how to impose a new one. A controlled mind sees only one pattern. A free mind sees patterns as illusions. The question is, which one are you? Let's test it. Take any belief you hold about yourself, something you think is undeniably true. Now ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Did I experience it firsthand, or was it repeated into my mind? If I grew up in a completely different culture, would I still believe it? If your answer is no, then that belief is not truth. It's just a pattern you were trained to accept. And here's the thing, if a belief is just a pattern, then it can be rewritten. Are patterns discovered or created? The reality-bending question. Look up at the night sky. A child sees random points of light. An astrologer sees cosmic messages. A physicist sees mathematical precision. A poet sees divine order. Same stars, same reality, completely different interpretations. Now, here's the uncomfortable question. Are those patterns being discovered, or are they being created? This doesn't just apply to the stars. It applies to everything: your emotions, your identity, the meaning you give to your experiences. Reality isn't something you passively observe. It's something you actively construct based on the patterns your mind is trained to see. And once you understand that, you can start bending the rules. Because if patterns are flexible, then reality is malleable. The secret they never wanted you to know: those who control the patterns control perception. And those who control perception control reality. This is why society teaches you to see the world in a fixed way, why you are given labels, categories, rigid definitions of success and failure. Why you were never encouraged to question the structure of your thoughts. They don't need to control you directly. They just need to control how you think. Once your framework is set, you will automatically filter out anything that doesn't fit. This is why people fight to defend false beliefs, because once a pattern is locked in, it becomes reality itself. Here's the way out: question the pattern. Dismantle the structure, see beyond the illusion. For the next 24 hours, challenge yourself to question everything, every assumption, every label, every belief you take for granted. Ask yourself, is this something I know or something I was trained to believe? The next level, rewriting your mental code. You're not just experiencing reality, you're generating it. And if you knew how to rewrite the programming language of your mind, you could reshape your entire world. In the next chapter, we go deeper. Words are not just labels, they are the source code of your mind. If you understood how they function at the deepest level, you could rewrite your internal code, alter your perception, and reshape the structure of reality itself. This idea that reality is a construct, built from patterns and perceptions, can feel overwhelming. It's like discovering the operating system behind your life and realizing you've only ever used the default settings. But what if you could access the source code? This isn't about some complex technical skill. It begins with the simplest, most overlooked tool you use every single day: your words. You can start to gently rewrite your own mental code, one thought, one word at a time. Think about it. Words are the building blocks of your thoughts. They are the labels you stick on every experience, every feeling, every person you meet. But what if those labels were never truly yours? From the moment you learned to speak, you were handed a dictionary that wasn't written by you. It was written by your family, your culture, your society. This language shapes the very limits of what you believe is possible. If you don't have a word for a certain feeling, it's incredibly hard to even notice you're feeling it. This isn't just a fun fact. It's the invisible fence that keeps your reality penned in. The words you use don't just describe your world, they actively create it. This is why a word like spelling is so fascinating. You spell a word, but you also cast a spell. This isn't a mistake. Words are commands you give to your own mind and to the energy around you. They are structured vibrations that organize your reality. A legal contract is a binding spell. A political speech is a spell for influence. The words you repeat to yourself in the quiet of your own mind. Those are the most powerful spells of all. Let's make this real. For a moment, try to think a thought without using any words. It's impossible, isn't it? Language is the operating system. And for too long, we've let someone else write the code. But you can start to deprogram your mind. You can become the one who writes the dictionary. Here is your first tool for taking back control. Micro-habit Wensing, the word swap purpose. To consciously change the words you use, which reprograms the automatic emotional responses in your mind and shifts how you perceive your power. How to for one day. Pay close attention to your language. Notice when you say things like, I have to, I can't, or it's a problem. When you catch one, gently swap it for a more empowering phrase. Instead of, I have to go to work, try, I choose to go to work. Instead of, I can't figure this out, try, I'm learning how to figure this out. Instead of, this is a huge problem, try, this is an interesting challenge. Signs you're doing it right. You'll feel a subtle but immediate shift in your energy. The feeling of being a victim of your circumstances starts to fade, replaced by a sense of agency and choice. You feel lighter, more capable. Common pitfalls. Trying to be perfect and getting frustrated when you forget. This isn't about perfection. It's about awareness. Just catching yourself once or twice a day is a huge win. Another pitfall is feeling like you're lying to yourself. You're not. You're simply choosing a different perspective to see what happens. Tie back. This directly rewrites the mental framework that was installed in your mind, giving you the power to choose your own definitions instead of using the ones you were handed. As you practice this, you start to see how deeply words have shaped your experience. What other words have you been using that keep you feeling stuck? Think about words like mortgage, which literally means death pledge, or career, which comes from a word for a racetrack, a predetermined path. These aren't just words, they are concepts that quietly guide your life. You're not just trapped by the words themselves, but by the bigger stories they build, the patterns of thought you've been trained to accept as true. Remember looking at the night sky. The stars are just points of light. But one person sees a bear, another sees a hunter, and another sees a map for navigation. The stars didn't change. The pattern imposed upon them did. Your life is the same. The events are just events. It's the story you tell yourself about them, the pattern you connect them with, that creates your experience of joy, struggle, or meaning. What if you could choose your patterns? This is where we can introduce another simple, powerful practice. Micro-habit 2E, the pattern question purpose. To gently question the automatic stories and beliefs you hold, creating space for new, more empowering patterns to emerge. How tie? The next time you feel a strong negative emotion, anxiety, frustration, sadness, pause and ask one simple question. What story am I telling myself right now? Don't judge the story. Just notice it. Is the story, I always mess things up, or nothing ever works out for me, or this person is disrespecting me? Signs you're doing it right. You feel a small gap open up between you and the emotion. You realize the story is not the same as the reality. The feeling might still be there, but it no longer has complete control over you. You've moved from being in the movie to watching it. Common pitfalls: getting caught in analyzing the story or judging yourself for having it. The goal isn't to fix the story in that moment. It's simply to see that it is a story, a pattern of thought, not an absolute truth. Tie back. This practice directly addresses the idea that your mind doesn't perceive what's real, it perceives what it expects to be real. By questioning the story, you interrupt that expectation and open the door to a different reality. Imagine your mind is like a garden. For years, weeds of self-doubt and limitation have grown there because they were the seeds that were planted. The word swap is like choosing to plant new seeds. The pattern question is like gently pulling out the old weeds, not with force, but with simple awareness. But none of this work can happen if your garden is constantly being blasted by a hurricane of noise. The modern world is designed to keep you distracted, to fill every empty moment with information, entertainment, and outrage. This isn't an accident. A distracted mind can't question anything. It just reacts. Real power, real clarity, comes from the space between the thoughts, the silence between the notes. It comes from what you remove, not what you add. Think about the last time you were truly bored, with nothing to do, no phone to grab. It's uncomfortable for most of us, isn't it? We've been trained to fear that emptiness. But that emptiness is where your true self speaks. It's where your deepest intuition whispers the answers you've been searching for. So, how can you reclaim that sacred space in a world that wants to fill every second? Micro-habit 3, the sacred pause purpose, to create tiny moments of intentional stillness throughout your day, training your nervous system to value silence and giving your intuition a chance to be heard. Set a timer on your phone for 3 random times during the day. When it goes off, stop whatever you are doing. Close your eyes if you can. Take 1 deep breath in and 1 long breath out. For just 60 seconds, do nothing. Don't try to meditate. Don't try to clear your mind. Just be still. Notice the sounds around you. Notice the feeling of your feet on the floor. That's it. Signs you're doing it right at first. It might feel awkward or pointless, but soon you'll start to look forward to these pauses. You'll feel a sense of calm spreading into the rest of your day. You might find that an answer to a problem you've been struggling with pops into your head right after a pause. Common pitfalls. Thinking you have to do it perfectly or for a long time. 1 minute is powerful. The goal is not to achieve a state of perfect zen. It's simply to interrupt the constant flow of noise and create a moment of intentional emptiness. Tie back. This practice is a direct antidote to being drowned in information but starved for wisdom. It reclaims the stillness that society trades you to avoid, allowing you to hear your own inner guidance. As you create more space in your mind, you begin to see the world differently. The hard lines you once saw everywhere start to soften. The rigid categories of good and bad, success and failure, right and wrong, begin to feel less solid. You are taught to see the world in opposites. But what if that's the biggest illusion of all? Think about light and dark. We see them as enemies in a constant battle. But darkness is just the absence of light. It doesn't have any substance of its own. Or think of hot and cold. Cold is just the absence of heat. They aren't two different things. They are two ends of the same spectrum of energy. This same principle applies to everything in your life. Success and failure are two sides of the same coin called experience. You can't have one without the possibility of the other. Strength and vulnerability aren't opposites. True strength requires vulnerability. When you're trapped in the illusion of opposites, you spend all your energy trying to chase one thing like happiness or success and run away from another like sadness or failure. It's exhausting, and it's a game you can never win because you can't have one side of the coin without the other. What if you could stop playing the game altogether? Micro-habit forcing, dissolving the opposite purpose, to train your mind to see the connection between things you normally label as opposites, reducing inner conflict and freeing up enormous amounts of energy. How to? The next time you are judging something as bad, a situation, a feeling, a person's action, ask yourself this question: what is the hidden gift or lesson in this? Or, how could this bad thing be serving a good purpose? For example, if you get stuck in traffic, bad, maybe it prevents you from being in an accident up ahead, good. If a project fails, bad, maybe it teaches you a priceless lesson for your next success, good. Signs you're doing it right. You feel a sense of release and peace. The tension of resisting reality softens. You start to see life as a wise teacher rather than a random series of good and bad events. Your compassion for yourself and others grows. Common pitfalls. Spiritual bypassing. Using this idea to pretend that something doesn't hurt or isn't difficult. This isn't about denying your feelings. It's about holding them while also looking for the deeper connection. Feel the frustration of the traffic jam and be open to the possibility that it's protecting you. Tie back. This practice directly dismantles the belief that you have been taught to see the world in opposites. It helps you see the underlying unity and stop wasting energy fighting a battle that doesn't really exist. Have you ever noticed how the most beautiful music isn't just a string of pleasant notes? It's the tension and release, the loud and the soft, the silence and the sound working together. Your life is a symphony, and you need all the notes, not just the happy ones, to create a masterpiece. When you stop fighting the opposites, you step into a state of flow. You begin to understand the power of nothingness, the power of the void we talked about earlier. In our culture, we think of nothing as a lack, an emptiness to be feared. But in physics and ancient wisdom, nothing, or zero, is the source of everything. Before the Big Bang, what was there? Before a seed sprouts, it rests in the dark emptiness of the soil. Before your greatest idea, there was a moment of not knowing. The number 0 was a revolutionary invention because it allowed us to understand potential. It's the placeholder from which all other numbers gain their value. That empty space is your true power. It's the blank canvas before the painting, the silent mind before the inspiration. But we are so terrified of it. We fill our lives with stuff, with noise, with busyness, all to avoid the profound power of 0. Micro-habit 5, the 0 point, reset purpose, to intentionally connect with the state of pure potentials. The void, or 0 point, to clear mental clutter and allow new solutions and ideas to emerge effortlessly. How to? When you feel completely overwhelmed, stuck, or mentally fried, find a comfortable place to sit for 5 minutes. Close your eyes. Instead of trying to calm your thoughts, imagine letting them all go. Picture every worry, every to-do list item, every opinion, and just let it float away. Your only goal is to touch the feeling of emptiness, of being at 0. Don't force it. Just intend it. Rest in that feeling of nothingness for a few minutes. Signs you're doing it right. You don't achieve some magical state. You simply feel a bit of distance from the overwhelm. When you open your eyes, the world might seem a little clearer, a little quieter. An unexpected solution to your problem might just pop into your head later that day when you're not even thinking about it. Common pitfalls. Trying too hard to have no thoughts. Thoughts will come. Just let them pass like clouds in the sky, without attaching to them. The goal is not an empty mind, but a mind that is not clinging to anything. Tie back. This is a powerful way to stop drowning in information and return to the state of infinite potential that exists beneath the noise. It's a practical application of mastering the art of empty space. As you become more comfortable with this inner space, a profound realization starts to dawn. You begin to notice the one thing that is always present, no matter what is happening. Thoughts come and go. Feelings rise and fall. Your body changes. The world around you is in constant flux. But the awareness of it all, the silent, knowing presence that is watching the thoughts, feeling the emotions, and experiencing the world, that has never changed. This awareness is who you truly are. It is not a thing. It's not your personality, your memories, or your name. It's the space in which all those things appear. It's the screen on which the movie of your life is playing. You are not the character in the movie. You are the screen itself. This is the ultimate secret. The feeling of being a separate, vulnerable person trapped in a body is the core illusion. You are not a wave, fearing that you will crash on the shore and disappear. You are the entire ocean. How do we live from this place, not just as a beautiful idea, but as a lived reality? Micro-habit 6C, the awareness anchor purpose, to shift your identification from your changing thoughts and feelings to the unchanging awareness behind them, creating a foundation of unshakable peace and stability. How to? Several times a day, especially when you feel stressed or lost in thought, ask yourself a simple question. Who is aware of this thought? Or, what is aware of this feeling? Don't look for an answer in words. Just let the question point your attention back to the source. The silent, open space of awareness that is noticing everything. Feel into that space. Rest there for a moment. Signs, you're doing it right. You feel a sense of spaciousness and calm. The problem or thought that seemed so huge a moment ago now feels smaller, more manageable. It's like zooming out from a single pixel to see the whole screen. You feel a quiet confidence that is not dependent on anything outside of you. Common pitfalls. Trying to find awareness as an object or getting frustrated if you don't have a mystical experience. Awareness is not something you can find. It's what's doing the looking. The practice is just the gentle act of remembering and returning to that knowing presence. Tie back. This practice directly dissolves the feeling of separation, the core illusion. It connects you to the one consciousness that we all are, showing you that you are not the small, isolated self you were taught to believe you were. This isn't about becoming emotionless or detached. It's the opposite. When you know you are the vast, unbreakable sky, you can let the storms of life, the anger, the grief, the joy, pass through you without fear. You can experience life more fully, more deeply, because you know that nothing can truly harm the sky. You are not just a participant in a rigged game. You are the consciousness that is dreaming the game into existence. And when you start to wake up within the dream, you can begin to change the rules. Payoff. What we've explored today isn't a collection of interesting ideas, it's a map back to yourself. The two core principles are simple. First, the reality you experience is not fixed. It is a story co-created by your perception, your patterns, and your words. Second, your true nature is not the character in that story, but the silent, unchangeable awareness in which the story unfolds. Recognizing this is the key to genuine freedom and peace. For the next 7 days, I invite you to a simple practice. Call it the Welcome Home Minute. 3 times a day, simply pause. Take one conscious breath. Ask yourself, what is aware in this moment? And for 60 seconds, just rest in that quiet, knowing space. Don't fix anything. Don't analyze anything. Just be the awareness. This tiny act, repeated, will begin to untangle the knots of a lifetime. It will remind you that beneath all the noise, you are already whole, already free.